People played in 10 premierships. That's the most successful in the club. So anything that jumps out there is whatever. Welcome to Mount Clear Cricket Club, podcast number 4, here with one of the all-time greats, David Tuddenham. Tuddy played 278 games with the club, taking 871 wickets at an average of 12.5. That's the second most in the club's history. He took 5 wickets 56 times. That's right, 56 times. And 10 wickets 8 times. He played in 10 flags, captained 4 of them, 4 times best and fairest. He's a life member, Hall of Famer, BCA Hall of Famer, EJ Cleary medalist, played for Vic Country against India, and he's one of our fiercest competitors in the club's history. Welcome, Tuddy. Geez, you've packed in a little bit into those years. How did it all begin here at Mount Clear?
Oh, well, Paul, Mount Clear at the time weren't travelling all that well for numbers. They got Ross Creek in to join. My older brothers, of course, were playing with Ross Creek, and they all came to Mount Clear, and I followed suit along behind them.
And that was 7, so that was half a team for us, a bit more than half a team. 7 of us, wasn't there? And how many actually played with Mount Clear?
Yeah, the whole 7 of us have played over the years. But, and then when they first joined, though, I was only young then, and I think I was probably still only playing junior cricket.
Yep. Yeah, I remember Ron Plover saying, "Who's this young fella? You know, bowling a bit of left arm," and he thought, "Oh, he'll do. I'll bang him in nice and early." And I'm sure you're glad that happened, and we'll get to those premierships later. But when you arrived as a young bloke, what were your first memories, and who were some of the key people at the time?
Oh, well, of course, as you just mentioned, Ron was our captain, and Rex Hollyoake, of course, and we had Ernie Bolton, John Hollyoake as well, which is a nephew of Rex's, and Barry Martin was another nephew of Rex's, and we had some really, really good. And the other guy that I was missing was Russ Mulrooney, and he was a great, for us younger players. He really knew the game of cricket, and not saying that the others didn't, but Russ was always willing to help as much as he could.
Bit of a character too, I hear. Bit of a scallywag.
Yeah, he always had a good joke.
Now, 10 premierships, so you're the most successful winning player in the club's history. So 7 in the A grade and 3 in the third. So you obviously come at a very successful era. What's some of your memories around that time?
Oh, well, I was lucky, as you just said. I came in a good era, and started playing A grade cricket when in the first when we won 4 in a row, and that was just unbelievable. And then we missed one, and then won the next one in 70. So out of the first 6 years, we won 5.
5 out of 6.
So they were good memories. I can remember how I sort of started bowling. I wasn't bowling much through the seconds through junior cricket, and then I was trying to bowl these left arm offies, which straights. And Plov came up to me. We were in a bit of trouble up on Park 4. I think it might have been my first game, and he said to me, "Have a bowl," and I said, "What am I going to bowl?" And he said, "Just bowl as you do at training," and that's where it started. I got a couple of wickets that day, and from then on.
Now, you obviously had a great first career, and then you decided at the age of 42, I think it was, that you're going to drop down to the thirds.
Yeah, I think I was a bit younger than that. I might have been about 39, I reckon.
Okay, yeah.
But that's near enough.
Yeah, and so 3 in a row there.
Yeah, that was good, because we had a lot of younger kids, although we did also have David McCann and Peter Sutherland at different times as seniors as well. But we had a lot of young blokes, and a lot of them went on and played A grade, like Elmsey and Andrew Locke and
the young brothers.
Yeah, Joneses was there too. Yeah. And they were all really good kids, and they could play a bit of cricket too. And I tell you, another one I was missing was Jeff Reynolds. Played as a young boy. I reckon he was probably only about 15 then.
I managed a couple as well, and I've never been so terrified behind the stumps in my life. Scared I'd drop a catch or miss one, because you played it pretty hard, Tuddy.
I'll just go back to that. I can remember, I think you were playing maybe your first game, maybe in the thirds as a young boy wicketkeeper, and we were playing up on Park 9, I think it was, which goes downhill, and the keeper, although you weren't all that tall, I reckon dropped away about a foot on that end, and you were taking them above your head.
That's
and
right.
And you've done a marvellous job.
Remember that. Now, really fierce competitor. So where did that come from? Is that from a young age, or just developed, or?
I might have developed at home, I think, because I was the youngest of 7 and probably had to stick up a little bit for myself at home, maybe. But in saying that, we played it hard. There was, Rex and Ron and that, very, very hard competitors, and my older brothers were as well. They'd be out there hurling me on a bit too when I was bowling quick and trying to get me to go harder. But we always played within the rules and played it hard, yeah. And
so that culture was already there, obviously through Rex and Ronnie and those blokes, and then you've carried it through, and it's sort of, we've had that fierce competitor attitude right through till today.
Yeah, well, we played, a lot of people say white line fever, but it wasn't that. It was just some more we went out there and we said, well, we can win, whether we might have batted first, didn't have many runs on the board or something like that, and we just... we had the attitude that we just got to make it happen, and we did so many times.
How many we made, that's enough.
Yeah.
The infamous claim the game against Wendouree without a ball being bowled. Talk us through that story.
Well, there was a ball. They batted first here. We were fronted up for the second day, and in them days, it doesn't apply now, but each club had to supply stumps, and out on the field on the first Saturday, there was a fair bit of friction, and we had a few young boys playing their first year of A grade out under 16s, and they got a fair sledging. Wendouree had a few guys there that were renowned for that, as we know. Yep. I won't mention names, but so come 1 o'clock start, they didn't have their stumps. Comes at I don't know, half an hour later, they still didn't have them, and anyway, I forget now what the actual rule read, but they only had about 40 minutes, 3/4 of an hour to get them, and they didn't have them, and we didn't have a spare set. If we did, we weren't owning up to it. But anyway, that's what happened. But we did have I was captain, so I wear it as a person, as a leader. But we did discuss it beforehand. And before we made the decision as a group, and it was decided that we go ahead and claim it.
Yeah, take the 6 points, and that's created a really. There was already a good bit of rivalry there anyway, wasn't there? But that sort of took it to another level, which is good.
Took it to another level.
And then you lived next door to one of Wendouree's greats in Jeff McRae. Have you got any stories there?
Oh well, Jeff and I, we got on okay sort of off the field, but he was a very hard competitor as well. He played the game as it should be played, as it should be played, sort of hard out there and friends off, and we were good neighbours sort of. But a few times I left him with an odd bruise or two, but it was. But Kay and my wife Kay and Noel McRae got on really well, and talked to one another quite regularly.
Now, you played against India for Vic Country. What are some of those memories?
Yeah, that particular game, India batted first, and I forget now. I'd have to go through records to see what they made, but they made a fair few runs down at the Eastern Oval, and the second day was actually washed out. But I was happy with my performance that day. I don't know, I got a couple of wickets, and one of them was, as we're saying, capital Dev. But I never ever mentioned to anybody that he'd already made about 60 pretty easy.
Doesn't matter in the book.
Yeah.
So they must have been great opportunities, those touring sides, and the better country cricketers getting that exposure back in the day.
Oh yeah, it was good. It was a good game, and the Indians were okay to sort of talk to and mix with, and that. Although they were always wanting the physio, they always had injuries, and I think Peter Howley might have been there at that time, and I think they kept him busy. But that was a good experience anyway.
Now, being a fast bowler, you're a hard-hitting batsman, and you did manage to make 100 one day, and it wasn't just 100; it was a big double 100, 242. Can you remember that?
I can remember that. That was in the grand final of the thirds, playing Ballarat Redan. Ballarat Redan had made 300 and something, I think. Phil Hoey, 100, made 100 plus. And we were going along okay, and myself and David McCann got together and we put on a good partnership, and David eventually went out, which he still says this day it was a bump ball, but caught into the covers pretty low. But I just continued on, but it's probably that fierce competitiveness came out in me there, thinking now we're going to have to win this game. And we hung in there, and well, now your president, Tiggs, he played in that game with us, and he hung around. Him and I put on a fair bit towards the finish, although Tiggs didn't make a heck of a lot, but he made his 15 or 20 odd. So. Yeah.
And that game was at White Flat?
No, it was here at Mount Clear.
Here at Mount Clear.
Yeah. There was 3 premierships in a row, and they were all played at Mount Clear here. Yeah. Yep.
I remember White Flat one day you hit a big one onto the grandstand roof there. I think that might have been one of those. Now, 71 wickets in season 75-76. You bowled a total of 240 overs and only went for 760 runs. You had an average of 10.7. So no wonder you won the Cleary that year with 71 wickets. What do you remember there?
Yeah, it was probably, I think that was the year that I was captain, I think it was, and probably my first year as captain, I think. And we just, I don't know, I just just front up and get the wickets as much as you can, bowl whatever you can, and if it go, some days you can bowl well and not get a wicket. Other days you can bowl poorly and get wickets. And but as you said, I did have a good season that year. I can't really remember a lot about it, sort of, ball for ball or over for over or game to game, but we had a good side though then, and there was a few kids, a few young boys in there coming through.
So who were some of the best players that you ever shared the ground with? So you mentioned Capel Dev there, but is there anyone sort of locally here or?
Oh well, we had Rex Hollyoak, we had Ernie Bolton. They were all good players. John Hollyoak, and I'm trying to think of his first name, but Gunston from Grampians. I can't think of his first name, but he was excellent. It was just when I first started bowling, and I thought I was starting to get a little bit of pace about me. We played him in a combined game up at the Wendouree Oval, and he just made me look second class. And I thought, walked away with my tail between my legs, and I thought this bloke could bat. And he was Henry Gunston, and he was a great player. He could, he's probably some of the better players, but. When I spent a couple of years in Melbourne, with Collingwood there, we had, Keith Stackpole and Trevor Lachlan. They ended up all playing for Australia, playing in the same team sort of thing. But there's some really good players. But locally, I suppose, we talked earlier about Jeff McRae, good player, Peter Brady, them guys from Wendouree, Trevor McCann, and these guys all really good players. Bobby Witcher, all good cricketers. Peter Oxlade's another one, good players, and I just find it hard to sort of separate them from one to the other.
good in their own way. And Oxlade made 99 against Richard Hadley, New Zealand.
Yep, in Geelong he did, and got hit in the head and retired hurt.
Yeah.
He didn't get his 100. Hadley didn't bowl him a bouncer not to get a 100.
No one makes 100 against me. You mentioned Collingwood there before, so you were down there with work, were you, or did you?
I was working in Melbourne. We lived in Melbourne for about 5, 6 years.
Yep. And you got a few first games there, and
I played there for two
Yep.
seasons, 72 to about 74, I only got a couple of games, but mainly in the seconds. Played in the twos nearly all the time.
Yep.
I don't think I went back to the thirds, the seconds, and that. But I got a couple of games in there. But see, Collingwood had a pretty good side then. Doug Gott and John Birchie was another good cricketer. They were good bowlers. They were hard to displace. But I wasn't up to. They were much quicker than I bowled.
Yeah. And did you have a kick of footy at Collingwood as well?
Yeah, I did. I had a couple of years down there in 67, 68. I was there for 2 seasons, and then they said, "Nah, go back to the bush." I played. I didn't get a game in the seniors there. I only played in the seconds for them a couple of years.
Of course, brother Des had an unbelievable career, didn't he, at Collingwood?
Yeah, he did so.
Now, you took 9 for 48 against Redan one day, and then you took 13 wickets in another match against North. What would be your favourite memory or story at Mountie? Is it one of them or something else, or what really stands out for you as the big thing?
One of the things that I sort of remember, and you don't hear much about it, we were playing a game up at grammar school. And we were playing bowler at Redan. I know you talked about them other things, and they were good too. But I can still remember we rolled them for something like about 40 runs, or they were all out for that many. And the first 4 wickets was my good mate Gary Snowden had the first 4, and I'm standing in at slip or something, and there's his 4th, and I was like, "Oh, we got him 4 for." I haven't got a wicket yet. I better do something about it. But I still remember that, and it was something I got the next 6. So
spurred you on.
Gary spurred me on. I can still all remember them things. I think it was the only game we ever played at. I can remember playing at Grammar.
So you weren't only just a great player on the field, but you were also on the committee for several years, and were treasurer and helped build the club rooms. What are some of the more satisfying achievements there off the field you can remember?
Oh, well, of course, getting enough money thanks to the work of the ladies committee at Mount Clear was so strong in them times, and raised lots of money for the club. And building the clubs, and building the club rooms rather. And the other thing, of course, we owe so much to Alan Spratling. He was president for 40-something years, and he just done a marvellous job. And
he come in from Ross Creek with you guys too, didn't he?
He came from Ross Creek. He was a mate of my older brothers, and he came across. Didn't play much cricket, Ali, but he was a great administrator and done a great job for the cricket club. The amount of work that he done outside the club with equipment and such like that, but I still remember all that stuff. And I think the club, they have honoured Ali in lots of ways, and the amount of work, it was just phenomenal amount of work and time that he put into the club. But they were the good things. But we had a good committee, a good hard working committee who all put in. Yeah.
And it must be pretty pleasing nowadays to have a couple of grandkids playing in the juniors too.
Yeah, they're only in the under 11s and under 10s, but they're coming through. They're both showing a little bit of promise, and I love their cricket. Both of them. The little bloke in the under 10s, he's a bit of a goer, and but Ollie is his daughter's little boy. He's going along okay as well. So they're enjoying their cricket, and I help them as much as I can.
It's great, and it's great to have you around. We're following them, but every year at the Past Players Day, you're always there, and at presentation nights, and there's a trophy named after you and the family. And thank you, Tuddy, for everything that you've done over the years for Mountie, and you've left a great winning legacy, culture, and that real competitive nature. So thanks for having a chat today and for everything that you've done. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.